Humanities presentation Greek architecture.
The elements that come under Greek architecture elements are capital. The capital was a large design at the top of a column. It is the crowning member of the column form, providing a structural support for the horizontal member. In the classical style, the capital is the architectural member that most rapidly distinguishes the other. Frieze. In classical architecture of ancient Greece, a frieze is a long and narrow sculptural band that run along the middle of an entablature used for decorative purpose. This decorative panel above the column is combined of sculptures. The sculptures often told a story or record an important event. Greek architecture is known for tall columns, intricate detail, symmetry, harmony, and balance. The Greek builds all sorts of building. The main example of Greek architecture that survive today are the large temples that they built to their god.
Golden ratio. Plotting the relationship in scale provides us with what's known as golden spiral. This occurs originally in the natural world. Almost the buildings of ancient Greece used this proportion to define the proportion of the height of the buildings to their base. Same has also been used in determining various architectural elements found in the Acropolis of Athens. This made all the buildings look more pleasing and balanced, and the Parthenon is one of the most famous examples.
Greek temples are often characterized in terms of their ground plan and the way in which the columns are arranged. A prostyle temple is the temple that has columns only at the front, while an amphiprostyle temple has columns at the front and the rear. Temple with peripetal arrangement have a single line of column arranged all around the exterior of the building temple. Greek temples were grand buildings with a fairly simple design. The outside was surrounded by the row of columns. Above the columns was a decorative panel of sculpture called the frieze. Above the frieze was a triangle-shaped area with more sculptures called the pediment. Inside the temple was an inner chamber that has housed the statue of god or goddess of the temple. The ancient Greek were a religious a lot. They believed that their gods and goddesses controlled everything in the world and they were revered and appeased. The ancient Greek people built huge, beautiful temples and shrines where they could go to worship the gods. They also held festivals in honor of gods, and people would pray and make offerings to them in hope of being granted good fortunes in temples. It was believed that in the statues dwelled the spirits of gods. It was only natural for the Greeks to bring forth construction that would benefit the majesty of their gods.
Orders in Greek architecture. Doric order. The Doric order emerged on the Greek mainland during the course of the late 17th century BCE and remained the predominant order for Greek temple construction through the early 5th century BCE. Although notable buildings of the classical period, especially the canonical Parthenon in Athens, still employ it. The Doric order is characterized by a plain, unadorned column capital and a column that rests directly on the stylobate of the temple without a base. The Doric entablature includes a frieze composed of triglyphs, vertical plaques with three divisions, and metopes, square spaces for either painted or sculpted decoration. The columns are fluted and are of sturdy, if not stocky, proportions. These are the examples of Doric order. The capital on the Parthenon from Athens, the ruins of the temple of Poseidon from Soanion. Ionic order. The Ionic order was developed in the mid 6th century BCE by Ionian Greeks on the islands near present day Turkey. By the 5th century BCE, it was popular in mainland Greece. The first time it was used on a major temple was for the Temple of Hera on Samos, built around 570 BCE by the Greek architect Roikos. Ionic columns tend to be more slender, but the defining feature of the Ionic order is the volute. The volute is the spiral, scroll-like capital of the Ionic column. The cornice in the Ionic order has saw-like squared edges. So this is the example of the north porch of the Erechtheium, an ancient Greek temple from the Acropolis of Athens. This is the base of an Ionic column of the north porch of the Erectium, ancient Ionic column among the ruins of Istria, a Greek colony on the western coast of the Black Sea. Corinthian order. The Corinthian order is both the latest and the most elaborate of the classical orders of architecture. This order was employed in both Greek and Roman architecture with minor variations and gave rise in turn to the Composite order. As the name suggests, the origins of the order were connected in antiquity with the Greek city-state of Corinth, where, according to the architectural writer Vitruvius, the sculptor Callimachus drew a set of acanthus leaves surrounding a votive basket. The defining element of the Corinthian order is its elaborate carved capital, which incorporates even more vegetal elements than the Ionic order does. The stylized carved leaves of an acanthus plant grow around the capital, generally terminating just below the abacus. So these are the examples of Corinthian order. Town planning in Greek architecture. In the later periods of ancient Greece, new cities were planned out on a grid system with streets and houses aligned to take advantage of the winds, the sun, and the local scenery. Many Greek cities were located near the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. The center of activity in any Greek city was the agora. Acropolis. Over the centuries, the Acropolis was many things: a home to kings, a citadel, a mythical home of the gods, a religious center, and a tourist attraction. It has withstood bombardment, massive earthquakes, and vandalism, yet still stands as a reminder of the rich history of Greece, the Parthenon, an enormous Doric style temple that remains the star attraction of the Acropolis. It featured ornate sculptures and housed a spectacular statue of the goddess of the ancient Agora of Athens, also called the classical agora, is the best known example of an ancient Greek agora, located to the northwest of the Acropolis and bounded on the south by the hill of the Areopagus and on the west by the hill known as the Agorius Kolonos, also called Market Hill. The agora's initial use was for a commercial assembly or residential gathering place.